Do 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 do. Hello, person. Have to choose what type of lore to read. Anyone have any preferences? Or, sorry, does the one person have any preference? No preference? Let's start with ghost stories. Hello. She was the first ghost to arrive, but it wasn't long until there were dozens of them, scanning every pile of debris that remained of Tower North. They came in search of the one who guided their journeys, the one who once spoke for the traveler. He called me Diana. Before I met him, I didn't know what to call myself. She was speaking to a red-shelled one, who hovered where the speaker once studied the light. His eyes were ever fixed on the new brilliance of the living traveler. He called me Anwar. You never found yours either, did you? No. Her journey had spanned centuries, on Earth, the Moon, and Venus. But she never unearthed a single soul she felt worthy of the light. I used to think it was me. Perhaps I was too picky, but he assured me. Humanity was vast. The gift of the light must be deserved, and it was better to be thorough than end up with someone too weak to bear the burden, or worse, misuse it. He at least made me feel useful. I put my search on hold and served him as a cartographer. You? Deconstructionist. Anwar paused, drifted a few feet toward the luminous living traveler. Diana, can you feel it? Diana followed Anwar's gaze up to the traveler. Feel what? The pressure. Next up, Ghost Hunter. I personally like this one. The speaker's warnings were clear. Always mind the light. If you feel it fraying, you've strayed too far. There are some places even the traveler's light cannot reach. Now, here I am, lost in the shadowy pastiche known as the reef, and not a single tether of light touches me. But that is what my guardian wanted. His name is Cyril, and Cyril called me Strain. I found him on the far edges of Mercury, in a valley that the Vex transformation had never reached. He seemed resilient, unwavering, old, and wise. I had searched so long for my better half that I didn't hesitate. If I had considered for even one moment more, I might have sensed how tired and burdened and tangled his soul truly was, and I would have left him in peace, and I would not be a murderer of my kin. Cyril told me we came to the reef in search of a Woken. He had heard stories of how this far-flung offshoot of humanity had returned to Sol with unparalleled knowledge. He believed they had the answer to a question he refused to share. I know now, however, that he really came here to spare me. He confessed he could not bear another battle, nor fight in the name of something no one could possibly understand. Though he could not remember his past, he knew deep down that he had already fought his last war. He couldn't kill me. I was his friend. He doesn't kill friends. He wouldn't kill himself either. That was cowardly, weak. And if the ghost's sole purpose was to raise the dead to kill in the name of unexplainable forces, he could no longer let that happen. He would end the cycle. He would spare his brothers and sisters in arms. He would let the dead rest. Years later, I saw Cyril again, clad in wretched-looking armor, dragging a chain of dead ghosts in the name of peace, still searching for an Awoken who could answer the one question that has still haunted him since his rebirth. If you are a ghost who has not yet found your chosen, let this be a warning. Cyril, the Ghost Hunter, will end your search for you. If you are awoken and perchance have the answer he seeks, please do not keep your secrets from him. Your life depends on it. The we before us. I remember the moment we were born. There was pain and loss and a feeling of falling. Was this the end? The shadows gathered, colored bruised purple and gray in our fading consciousness. Our shell cracked and splintered. Parts of us were lost or carried away. We felt those wounds, jagged and sharp. We could feel them still attached by a gossamer thin strand of understanding. We felt a garden with no blooms, a valley shrouded in gloom. We felt ourselves dying. We didn't want to go. Then there I was, separated from the whole. I could feel it shrink, slip back into itself, dim and unseeing. I knew it was waiting, resting, watching, considering. And I knew what I needed to do. Somewhere in this wide, amazing galaxy, there was a person. They were quiet and dead, like we had been, but I could not bring them back. I could share what was inside of me, this glorious warmth and life and breath and being. Together, that person and I would do what the we before me, could not. I wrapped the spark that was me in metal and glass, a tiny bit of something that reminded me of the home we had shared. Then I set out to find my person, the keeper of my light. There were so many people, so many still, fragile things, decaying into dust, lost to memory. I touched each one, looking for something. A fragment of ember under the ash? I didn't find it. I know now that there is one person, only one, that is mine. I have been to many planets, seen things I never knew were possible, hid from monsters, followed dreams. I have seen others of my kind, the other pieces that were once us. Their search is over. They are complete, stronger, braver because they found their counterpart. I am alone. I know you are still out there, that you're waiting for me, but it's been so long and I am so very cold. I will rest here and think about us for a moment. Cold, where we... You! That was a weird one. What do you think? Was that a weird one? I'll take that as a yes. Confession of Hope, Part 1. The choice haunts me. It was not reasoned. I let emotion get the better of me. The fallen had moved on. The few survivors were huddled close in the dark of a cave, muffling their heavy, quick breaths, stifling their sobbing. When I found them, many nights before, I also found renewed purpose. I had traveled these dead, dying worlds for longer than I cared to remember, all the while in search of a spark worthy of ignition. Over time, I'd grown weary, but in this small band of survivors I found hope. If I couldn't find a lost soul worthy to be touched by the light, then I would find another way, a smaller way, to be of service. I would lead the small gathering of desperate men, women, and a single child to the growing sanctuary beneath the traveler. If I could not find a hero to challenge the darkness, I would be a guide to those in need of salvation. It took some time to gain their trust. I was odd, other. They thought I was an angel. I told them I was not. They named me Tianchi. I did not object. The child marveled at me. Still too young to speak, much less comprehend, he had a presence that was a burden and a boon. His parents did all they could to nurture him, protect him with the aid, comfort, and care of their traveling companions, once strangers, now bound deeper than blood by their shared experience in this new life after the end of the world. On that day, in that cave, huddled in fear as the fallen skiff's roar faded over the tree line, the mother wailed, a sound I had never heard and hoped never to hear again. Such pain, such sorrow, grief, suffering, loss. Her cry echoed through the forest. Her husband, weeping and on the edge of breaking down, simply held her, and the dead child in her arms. The others tried to calm them, out of fear that the fallen will return. The attack had been swift and brutal. 20 dead, only 9 survivors, here, in this cave. I watched the tree line, anxious and afraid. The mother's pain filled the space between the thick trees. I turned back to her and saw for the first time the child's spark. Faint, but there. This child was not my charge. Those selected to return were champions. This child was so small, so frail. What devotion had he shown? What bravery? What had he sacrificed? But a thought lingered. Was it not my purest purpose to deliver hope? Every hero raised fought not for themselves, but for the whole of humanity. If saving one life, if redressing the one terrible loss was not a worthy cause, what was? I watched the mother as she cried. I felt myself expand, felt the light that was me intensify. In a way, it was outside of my control, as if something had reached inside of me and flipped a switch. A beam erupted from my core and bathed with light the child's small, broken body. A second passed, and he began to cry. All fell silent. The traveler's gift had been given. A child returned, and with him the beginning of my journey's end. Did I do the right thing? Would the child grow to reach his peak physical self? Would he, like all returned, be ready for the wars to come? And then a thought came over me, one I had never before considered. Maybe death would have been better. Had I saved the child, or doomed him? As his cries echoed, the survivors looked on in shock. There was joy in their silence, wonder. I looked down on him, and pride began to well inside of me. I had done what was right, and that was then only months ago, but long enough to seem a lifetime. Now the fallen are back, and we are running, and I fear the promise of a gift given is far from enough to save us from a pirate's blade. Fragment of the last transmission from an unknown ghost. The watchful eye. I've made my peace. If my other is not out there somewhere, if my guardian can't be found, then I will find ways to be of value to the greater good. It's been cycles since I told myself to be useful in any way possible, but it's a mantra I repeat, a constant reminder. If I have no other, my actions must be enough. If I have no other, I will become the hero I cannot find. It sounded noble at the time. Turns out nobility is the kind of thing that places the well-intended in harm's way, and apparently, I'm fine with that. Maybe we all are. Maybe that's what makes us heroic, accepting risk as a consequence of doing what's right. I've been tracking fallen crew movements along the edge of the EDZ for some time, careful not to venture too deep into their territory. After all, I'm only one ghost. Without a guardian, I'm no use in the light, or in a fight. But I can watch and learn and report. I can find my own ways to combat the enemies of the light. All ghosts keep an eye out. We chronicle and share the highlights of our travels. It helps us and our charges navigate the frontier, though the vast majority of these wild lands remain unexplored. The only difference between the ghost I am today and the ghost I used to be is my focus. Whereas I used to be driven solely by the need to find and sync with the Guardian, I am now fully dedicated to spycraft, the art and execution of information gathering. And I am not alone. There's an entire network of ghosts like me. Should we find our others, we shall rejoice and shift our mission to serve as the right hands of the true warriors of the light. Until then, we move swift and quiet through the vast wilds of the frontier, scouting our enemies' movements and cataloging their every action so that the vanguard and others may better assess and confront the dangers beyond the last safe city. We are small, we are few, but we are brave and we are heroes. Link, an unconnected ghost, part of the Vanguard's covert spectral network. Well, it was the last ghost story for now. What do you think? Lawless Frontier, The Man They Called Cade, Letters from a Renegade, or Dawning Delights? Dawning Delights? Alright. That's essentially Christmas stories. No, back. So what did you think of The Watchful Eye? Yeah. Alright. Lighter Days. Dawning Delights. I've known Zavala a long time, you know. He was one of the first people to greet me when I arrived at the tower all those years ago, though I suppose greet may be too soft a word. It implies a sort of friendliness, a warmth. And Zavala, if you've never met him, he can be a bit stern. He's hardened further since the Red War, I'm sorry to see, though I suppose we all have to some degree. In any case, that very first meeting left a sour taste in my mouth. I hate to admit it that I avoided Zavala when I could after that, though sometimes he makes himself unavoidable. It wasn't long after this meeting that I celebrated my first dawning at the tower. Everyone's spirits were high, and it was so nice to see people I had come to care about smiling and toasting each other. I remember Tess and I had just finished with a bit of decorating, and she had left to get something when Zavala began heading my way. Oh no, I thought. Oh no, not this man. Ah, but he came over anyway, so I smiled and wished him a happy dawning, because I did wish good things for him. It is often the sternest among us who hold the saddest hearts. He wished me the same, and then, I almost couldn't believe it, he smiled. He exchanged some brief pleasantries, and I don't remember what I said that brought this on, but suddenly he said, "Oh, that reminds me of a joke." A joke! At first I thought I must have heard him wrong, because the Titan Vanguard had always struck me as the no time for joking sort. But he had barely begun telling this story before I noticed how much more relaxed his posture was. It seemed the spirit of the dawning had reached even this stone man. I remember only pieces of the joke these days. I believe it had to do with a guardian and a fallen captain, but I clearly remember that he stumbled over the first few words and had to start again. I gave the warmest smile I could to encourage him, and he went on to tell one of the longest, most awkward jokes I've ever heard. And listen, I loved every minute of it. Truly, I couldn't have been happier. Oh, I clapped and laughed along with what I swear was real, true joy from Zavala. To have such a guarded soul open like that, few things are more beautiful. I admired him so in that moment that he could push himself beyond the boundaries he'd held himself to. I remember hoping that I could someday be so brave in my own way. For the first time, I didn't just respect him as one of the city leaders. For the first time, I felt real, genuine affection for Zavala, the person Zavala, my friend. He's been dear to my heart ever since. Yallardoodles, mix ether cane and delicious explosion, add essence of dawning, then bake. Jesus. Whew. Hmm. Alright. Tradition is bigger than you. Dawning delights. When Tess told me that the Frames had organized the dawning in the new tower while I was all the way out at the farm, I thought, how could they do it without me? Then I said, Eva, these traditions are bigger than you. They live in the hearts and minds of the people who have passed them on, generation after generation. Now I am back in the tower, helping to create the loveliest dawning celebration yet. And I carry on a tradition I am sure to repeat every year. I ask Ikora to make the dawning crystal, and I ask until she does it. I make an appointment to discuss the decorations, but I know she's always very busy with urgent Vanguard business. That is why, when I approach her alcove and hear low voices, I don't barge right in. I just peek a little bit. Ikora muttering. She sounds almost angry. Dawning decorations. I've got no time for frivolous. A male voice says, "It's not frivolous. People need this. I understand that it's hard for you because it's the first dawning without K. Stop talking. Ophiuchus. Right now." I do not see who Ikora is talking to, or recognize this name, but Ikora's voice is sharp. I have no other concerns. What about the latest reports out of the Tangled Shore? I don't know what to make of them, and my hidden have reported trouble brewing closer to home. I notice her eyes drift across the main passageway to a secluded nook with a partially closed gate. Yes, Ikora, but... And there's never any word from Osiris. Not that I expect it, but... She shakes her head. With respect, why not just message him? Perhaps. I just don't have the time to... She pauses. Eva Levante! I make sure to tread loudly and rustle my sheaf of dawning crystals designs as I enter. Will I have her think I was eavesdropping? Ikora watches me, her arms crossed. Her ghost hovers over her ear, whirring with alertness. Happy dawning, Ikora Ray. I begin. She can tell by my big bright smile and the firm way I spread out the designs for her to pick from that it will go faster if she says yes. She respects her tradition, though she says no twice. Then she says fine. Eva, fine. She does not believe the crystal matters, though she avoids my gaze, but her ghost, I see his eye blink at me. The design she promises to make is exquisite. We agree to meet again when she finishes it. I join her in the bazaar while running errands with my assistant, Malia. So many last-minute tasks. When we march up, Ikora and her Ophiuchus are huddled together. She keeps shaking her head, but she lifts her arms, and suddenly an enormous dawning crystal winks into being in the skies above the tower, like a million diamonds suspended in air. Malia gasps. She has never been so high in the tower, nor have seen the dawning crystal up close, only from the city far below. She drops all the packages she was carrying. The Warlock Vanguard helps Malia pick them up, piling one parcel on top of another until she realizes Malia is still as stone, kneeling, watching her hands that kindle light from air. The poor girl's scarred face is slick with tears, and she wipes them with her sleeve, but the tears will not stop. Malia's family escaped the city during the Red War, you see, though they survived and have a home again. There have never been many beautiful things in their lives. Malia touches Ikora's arm and mouths a thank you. Her cheeks flush red as a pincushion. Then I kneel too, a bit slowly nowadays, to take the packages from Ikora, all but one, bound in bright gold ribbon and embossed with an open eye encircled by a sun. I nod and press it into her hands. Then I hear that ghost of Ikora's whisper, "I told you so." And Ikora reply, "So you did." Traveler donut holes. Mix Cabal oil and flash of inspiration, add essence of dawning, then bake. These are fun. Dawning before the dawning. Dawning delights. Amanda once told me that her mother, Nora, came from desert people in a place far, far from here. Nora had been on the road since she was a girl, sometimes with nothing more than an old scribbled map and that shotgun of hers. She didn't need much, but she did need people. Nora met Amanda's father in some half-abandoned village, and when she told him about the last safe city, well, he followed her. They had no family but themselves. They picked up fellow refugees on the way, lost others. Then they had their precious little girl. It must have been a slow, slow road, first with a little baby, then with a young child. But they believed. They had hope. They pushed on. Amanda told me about one particular dawning they had shared out in the wilds. They had fallen in with another family that had a child, Lucia, a bit older than little Amanda. They were agreeable travel companions. They found themselves in the thick of the forest, with the wind wailing, a storm coming down, branches flying, and realized they had to stay put. So, they find the wreckage of a dropship, lean up a wing, and crumpled siding, and squeeze all the grown-ups and the two little ones into the dry space under the rusted hull. Then Amanda's mother says, "We'll be here a while. Might as well do something to keep our spirits up." She sends the adults out foraging for something to eat, something to drink, and something to keep dry. Amanda's father comes back with long-leaved plants to weave into mats. Their companions return with full water flasks, some prickly fruit, and a dozen or so wild vegetables, like cucumbers. With dried fish from their packs, it was quite the feast. As adults are working, Lucia is curling up the rinds from the fruit into little flowers. But little Amanda is kicking her legs, restless. "Make yourself useful. Make some decorations." Amanda's mother urges her. She hands Amanda wires and nuts and bolts and a circuit board full of little lights. Lucia comes jumping, an old battery in her hand. Together, the girls make miniature garlands of little tiny bulbs. And Lucia shows Amanda how to touch the wires of the battery to make them light up. Bright little lights in the vast dark forest. Amanda told me about the fruit, with soft white flesh and a sour taste. She told me about how they sang made-up songs together with no words, just humming and tapping out a beat on the metal walls of their shelter. She doesn't know what the fruit was. Maybe it does not exist anymore. The other family? They got separated from Amanda's people. Later on, Amanda's parents... gone. Like so many others on the road to the last safe city. But Amanda Holiday still makes the lights, you know. Uses spare odds and ends to decorate her workshop. She does it every dawning. Chocolate chip cookies. Mix up all oil, null taste, and essence of dawning, then bake. Ugh. Christ, I got a lot of these to go through. It's the feeling that counts. Dawning delights. Some residents of the tower have been around very long indeed. The Guardians, the Exos, the old Iron Lord. They have seen dawning after dawning. Even before the tower began observing the holiday as we now know it, there were those who would always celebrate with similar ceremonies of light and hope. Sometimes these memories blend together, but the feeling remains. The dawning season. Last week, the week before, I can't even remember. One of the suppliers tells me they had 2 of my boxes delivered to the gunsmith by mistake, so I go see Banshee 44 to sort it all out. The Exo has no recollection of delivery, but he recognized me and I notice his eyes glow a teensy bit brighter. Must be about the dawning, he mumbles. He turns on his heel and heads straight to some shelves at the back. He returns with 2 big boxes. These them? He asks. He opens the first one up. Inside, we find a very, very old box of chocolates. Many different portable kits for cleaning weapons. A copy of Hunter of the Heart. I know this novel, but it's not for everyone. A necklace with a bullet pendant tucked with care into a little box. Stacks and stacks of dawning greeting cards. I shake my head. Those are presents people have given you for the dawning, Banshee. The gunsmith blinks a couple times. Then he closes the carton. I worry he would have thrown away the chocolates, but maybe next year. And then turns to the other one on the counter. He lifts the cover. It's full of dawning gifts, wrapped in brightly colored paper and tied with glittery ribbon. Some are in tiny boxes, but some are guns, of course. They're meticulously labeled. I think these are the presents you are giving out to friends this year, no? I ask with a wink. Banshee gives one brisk nod, and he turns over the labels, reading them. I observe that some have detailed instructions. The XO shrugs. Got into the habit of writing everything down. Sometimes I don't always remember. He waves the thought away. Right. I still need my supplies. The boxes I came to get. I nudge him. He tilts his head a moment and finally raises a finger. Oh, I know where they are. But before he takes away the boxes, I tap the covers. You should label them. Old dawning gifts, new dawning gifts, to be delivered. He nods at me and scribbles on the lids. I never forget my friends for the dawning. He makes sure to tell me as he hands me my packages. I'm very happy. Happy dawning, Banshee. I reply, squeezing his arm. I do hope he remembers to get rid of those chocolates. Telemetry tapioca. Mix Vex milk and bullet spray. Add essence of dawning, then bake. I feel like I have to add that little bit on the end. What do you think of them so far? Want my whistle? Alright. But are you at least getting a feel for the lore of the story, at least some of the background knowledge? Sometimes, when I face something frightening, I think of the strongest people I know and draw strength from them. Soraya Hawthorne is one of those people. I know her brusque attitude can be off-putting, and that's intentional on her part. But once you get past that, there is so much to learn. She was orphaned as a young girl, and Devrim and Mark took her in. Honestly, I think having these two as role models is part of why she's as strong as she is. They raised her to be sure of herself and to always do what she thought was right, even though that ultimately led to her having to leave the city. As Soraya tells it, she came home one day to find Mark and Devrim sitting at the kitchen table as though expecting her. They had her sit down, then asked her if there was anything she wanted to tell them. She shook her head. Nope. Mark asked her to try again, but she was silent, so he told her the executor, Hideo, had stopped by their home. She asked how he was. You know how he is, Devrim said. Tell us what happened. His face got in the way. Mark took a deep breath and said Hideo claimed to have caught her stealing supplies that morning, and did she have anything to say about that? She did not. He reminded her that stealing supplies and breaking a faction leader's nose were both good ways to get kicked out of the city, and Soraya could keep quiet no longer. She almost shouted her explanations. The factions didn't care about the people who needed food and supplies, the people who could not pledge to a faction because they were too busy struggling to survive. She wanted to help them, so she would sometimes steal supplies from New Monarchy. Devrim asked, what about Hideo? Soraya rolled her Yeah, Soraya rolled her eyes and groaned, explained that when Hideo had found her, he'd said all manner of nasty, evil things to her. She was worthless, she was nothing, things like that. Devrim agreed Hideo was, well, I won't repeat it, but suffice to say it means an unpleasant person. He held a lot of influence, though, and he was insisting Soraya be punished harshly. For Soraya's parts, this seemed to crystallize something. She tells me that's the first time she knew she wanted to leave the city. That perhaps this had been part of why she'd punched Hideo. She told her guardians, and they couldn't believe it. They were quiet for a bit. Then Devon broke the silence. Well, let's get packed. No, she said. Absolutely not. She was not about to let her decisions hurt these men who had taken her in and cared for her. They'd done nothing wrong. Oh, they fought her. As she tells it, they argued a long time, until finally she shrugged and said, "If you try to come with me, I'll run away." She suspected they knew there was no bluff to call, as they spoke now in tired, worried voices, making their case one last time. Soraya was adamant. "I won't let you suffer for my choices." What could they do? She asked when she had to leave. Mark said he could hold off Hideo for a day or two so they could all make a plan. His voice became stern again, and he said, "You're going somewhere close enough that we can come and check on you as often as we like, at least for a while. That is non-negotiable." He had no negotiating power, of course, but Soraya had agreed. She stayed very near the city for over a year before saying proper goodbyes and heading out further into the world. Soraya Hawthorne is, in my mind, the definition of doing what you think is right, regardless of the consequences. She knew it was right to help struggling families. She knew it was right to not put Devrim and Mark in harm's way, and she knew it was right to give them some peace of mind by staying close. That is the kind of true courage I have always admired. Elixni birdseed. Mix ether cane and personal touch. Add essence of dawning, then bake. Extended family, dawning delights. Oh, Devrim. Who can meet Devrim and say they don't like him? He looks out for others and helps anyone who asks. I saw him many times after I made my way back to the farm. He'd come by from time to time, check in on everyone, and make sure everything was going all right. He even sat down to tea a few times. Or we even sat down to tea a few times. Such a kind, sincere soul. We need more of those, you know. We talked many times about the war, and he tried so hard to convince me to arm myself. "You've seen what's out there," he would say, as though I might have forgotten. We argued about it time and time again. I had jobs that didn't require fighting, I would explain, and that it was intentional. My strongest contributions lay elsewhere, and I meant to help my focus here, or there. Here, there, everywhere. I remember one conversation in particular where Devrim was absolutely adamant. "Ava!" he finally said, louder than I think he meant to. His eyes were urgent, almost angry, as they locked on mine. "This isn't some what-if situation. You've already had to defend yourself. It stands to reason you'll have to again. The Cabal aren't backing down, and they're not the only threat. To know all that and still not even try to protect yourself? It's irresponsible. Yes, I had defended myself, and I had hated everything about it. Devrim, I said, my voice soft, but my words clear. The fighting, the shooting, the mayhem. That's not what I want to be a part of. I've seen enough. If it comes for me again, and I agree it could, then so be it. I want to be part of the healing. I want to be part of what builds us back up. Don't we need that?" Poor Devrim finally stopped trying to convince me. He never stopped checking in, though. Old habits, as I say. When I finally came back to the tower, though, what do you think was waiting for me? The Dawning Festival was just beginning, and Postmaster had a package for me. Inside, a beautiful sidearm, ornate design, antique coloring, and a note, from Devram, of course. At first, I was indignant. After all our conversations, I had half a mind to simply throw this gun away. Instead, I read the note. Eva, my friend. I was sorry to hear that you'd left the farm after all, but very glad to know you'll be among dear friends. In that spirit, and in the spirit of the dawning, I want to offer you this gift. This has been passed down through my family for generations. It's a cave family heirloom. And before you throw it away, you should know that it doesn't fire. I thought this might be a nice compromise, and I hope you'll accept it. I hope the tower treats you well, old friend. Devram. I read the note a few more times, then folded it and put it in my pocket. I looked down once more at this beautiful heirloom, a symbol of friendship and of family, and reflected on the fact that somehow, despite everything, I'd managed to rediscover both. Gentleman's shortbread. Mix ether cane and perfect taste. Add essence of dawning, then bake. The dawning on the stormy seas. Dawning delights. Every dawning, I receive many greeting cards from customers. The ones I treasure the most contain stories about how people all across our solar system observe the holiday. One of my favorite letters came from someone who was a customer of mine but once, Lady Sloane, stone-born out on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. Dear Eva, happy dawning. First, thanks for the delivery. All the requisitions arrived in perfect condition, and you did a great job packaging up the chicken. More on that later. We tried redecorating the railings outside our command center with the garlands, but the Fallen had been using the lights for target practice. I guess we'll be getting some more next year and prettying up the break room instead. A couple of the dawning lanterns got whipped away in the wind, too. We're not known for clement weather out here on the methane seas. Some guardians who have been helping out on Titan mentioned that you like to hear about dawning traditions outside the city. So here's how we celebrate on this moon we call home. This year, I let the crew off duty early, 1600 hours, and took a whole hour off myself so we could have ourselves a little dawning soiree in our command center. Siren's watch has got quite a view of the waves and some floating platforms, so we pushed our break room tables together, end to end, and looked out on the horizon while we shared a communal feast. Seeing as the room is exposed to the elements, the glass window broke long ago, but repairing it just hasn't been a priority. Del and Ari had to bundle up, and we had to weigh the tablecloth down with chunks of metal. I've had worse setups. Eva, it was the best meal I've had in ages. That chicken? Delicious. Every one of us got to try a piece. We cut our protein rations into fun shapes, and once we got our taffy warmed up enough to chew, it was heaven. We exchanged dawning gifts as well. Somebody even cross-stitched me an inspirational quote to hang on my quarters. Where's my beacon? It's an in-joke. Decent tools, heavy ammo, thick socks. Those are the kind of gifts that change hands out here. Maybe that doesn't impress people accustomed to the dawning in the tower, but those presents have worth to us. When we joined hands afterward, whether for warmth or just conviviality, whatever that word is, we got to talking in a way we never really had before. I don't think I've ever voluntarily shared stories about myself or my life. We even talked about who we were before the Red War, where we came from, and even where we might want to go in the future. It's not easy here on this storm-tossed moon. One jolt and you're tumbling off a platform into eternity. Between the Fallen and the Hive and the elements, we're always just struggling to stay alive. But as we sat here chatting, we felt alive. I guess I wrote all of this just to say thank you, Eva, for reminding us to take a moment to appreciate and rejoice, no matter what. I felt that inspiring. Sincerely, Sloane. I've never left Earth, and Titan sounds like a very interesting place. But reading how this holiday has brought people together in such a faraway place, I feel all my efforts have been worth it. I hope to see Sloane again someday. Alkane drage cookies. Mix chitin powder and bullet spray. Add essence of dawning, then bake. Celebrate each other. Dawning delights. I had heard of the Exodus colony ships before. I didn't remember much about them, just one of the names from the history lessons that sticks with you. To tell you the truth, I had forgotten about it until more recently when some Guardians told me they found one of them crashed on Nessus, and explained what had happened to its failsafes. I understand they were originally one AI, the ship's navigational intelligence, but with time they separated. It sounds to me like one of them is always happy and the other is always sad. That's no way to live for either of them. These things must exist in balance. I know they're computers, but I worry for them. One Guardian in particular spoke to me recently at the time he told the failsafes about the Dawning Festival. He had just turned some bounties into them and mentioned that he was excited to get back to Earth to participate in the festivities. They stopped him and asked him to explain what that meant. They had never heard of the Dawning. He said something to the effect of, "It's a winter celebration that combines several old Earth traditions." They responded, "I will try to word this exactly as he did, since he prided himself on his imitation of them." They responded by the happy one saying, "According to my database, Earth's winter occurs when one hemisphere is oriented away from the sun. Why do you celebrate being cold?" Then the sad one said, "I mean, I can't feel cold, but it sounds awful." So this Guardian said something like, "It's more that we're celebrating each other," which I love because that is how I've always thought of it as well. We're all here together, eating sweets and being with each other. The fail-safes ask a few more questions, and then the happy one said, "If we're celebrating each other, how can I participate in the dawning? I am all alone. It is very depressing." The sad one said, "I'm not going to celebrate the fallen." My Guardian friend thought quickly and said, "You can wish every Guardian that comes out to Nessus a happy dawning. Celebrate with us. We would love that." That seemed to cheer both of them up a bit, so I'm glad he thought to say it. Apparently, they practiced wishing him a happy dawning for the better part of an hour, so I expect they're quite good at it now. Go visit them when you have a chance. Being far from the city shouldn't stop anyone from having a pleasant dawning. Infinite forest cake. Mix Vex milk and impossible heat. Add essence of dawning, then bake. A cautionary tale. Dawning delights. "Eva Levante!" Ikora caught my wrist and leaned in to whisper, "I need to speak with you about Eris Morn." I will never forget that day. Way back then, I was very busy getting the Vanguard and the other tower vendors excited about the dawning. In turn, many reached out to me about anything related to the holiday. Still, I was surprised that the Warlock Vanguard would seek me out, and to talk about Eris Morn of all people. I might have shuddered in spite of myself. I saw you chatting with her as you were getting the decorations set up. What I recall was Eris talking at me about abysses while I was trying to hang lanterns, but I did not want to say that to Ikora. She continued, "I am worried about her. She seems quite depressed." I flicked my eyes up at Ikora and then looked away. To my credit, I did not snort. She's even more so than usual, and the technicians and the Hall of Guardians are complaining. "Eva, could you talk to her? Perhaps get you to help her out, or get her to help you out? Surely you could use an extra set of hands." A terrible idea, but again, I could not say no. Or I could not say so. Instead, I suggested, perhaps she has a friend. Well, maybe not a friend, but someone she likes to talk to. Someone who she has something in common with. I trailed off, remembering who we were speaking of, but Ikora perked up. "There is someone she addresses voluntarily. A Jensum scribe named Asher Mir. He's also, well, he's an excellent scholar. I'll reach out to him, unless you know him, of course. I don't. I don't, I said brightly. But I hope it goes well. I want everyone to have a happy dawning. Now, if you'll excuse me, I do have deliveries to make. I wasn't yet familiar enough with Ikora to squeeze her arm in farewell, so I nodded and made my escape. But when I crossed paths with her later that day, what a look she gave me. I talked to Asher, as you suggested, she muttered. Well, he grumbled at first. He seemed unaware that the dawning was taking place, in fact. But I explained, and when I told him it would be very well regarded if he wrote her a dawning greeting card or went to visit her, he said he could write a card. He also said he had a dawning gift for her. Oh, how kind! I'm not so sure, she sighs and produced a piece of parchment. It was folded in four to form a greeting card. Nothing on the cover, but inside was written, Eris, the warlock... Sorry, Asher is very peculiar. I have to voice this right. Eris, the warlock vanguard, has approached me about cheering you up for a holiday that is going on. I shall seize this serendipitous opportunity to send you the research notes you have demanded of me on heretical practices among the hive. However spurious the grounds of your request. Warmest wishes to you this dawning. Asher Mir. Did you dictate the last part to him, Ikora? She pauses for a moment. Yes. I laughed. Well, you had better take it to her then. I wouldn't call hive research a traditional dawning present, but she did request it. Ikora shook her head wearily, and we parted ways. Later that same day, as I was about to head out on my last round of deliveries, Ikora approached me yet again. She told me, I went to Eris. I don't know if she's any more cheerful, although she did say, Ah, yes. I've been expecting these notes for some time now. Good. She even wrote a dawning message back to Asher. Ikora handed me the same piece of parchment that her scribe colleague had used, but it had been refolded. I read, Asher, take heed not to succumb to the whispers, as fools do. Warmest wishes to you this dawning. Eris Morn. I shrugged. The warlock cleared her throat. Eris also had a dawning gift for me to pass on to Asher. At least she's making an effort. Well... Ikora hauled me aside and took out a small lumpy packet wrapped in cloth. She peeled back the layers of tissue with care, and there it was. The dawning gift glowed with a sickly green luminescence. I can't give this to him, Ikora hissed. I can just... She looked around for eavesdroppers. Get rid of it, right? This is beyond a question of dawning etiquette, I whispered back. She nodded, her face set. Let us never speak of this again. Radiolarian pudding. Mix Vex milk and electric flavor. Add essence of dawning, then bake. We're almost an hour in. How are you liking your dawning tales? Mm. Say it with a dawning gift. Dawning delights. It's not only my customers who keep me running about. People are always coming to me for advice. Sometimes it's this shader or that, or does this mark look okay on me? Sometimes it's, should I hold a dawning party? Or why should I go to their dawning party? But sometimes the questions are even more complicated. I was stealing a moment of quiet one afternoon to organize all of the jumbled rolls of wrapping paper when I heard a resonant voice calling to me. how I jumped. It was a certain well-known titan. Not Zavala, but I will not tell you who. Evil Levante does not tattle about sensitive matters. He was carrying a formidable piece of weaponry, a complicated curve of many metal parts with a thick string connected to the ends. "It's a compound bow," he explained, following my stare, "for shooting arrows." I raised my eyebrows in puzzlement. On that weapon he placed a large, poof of red velvet ribbon. A bow on a bow. Oh, that's honestly something that gets me to break character. Jesus. I could tell from the tilt of his helmet and the taut grip on the weapon that something was amiss. I sighed. I saw this a few times every dawning. I suspected he was smitten, and this would not be a short conversation. "Warmest dawning greetings to you, Torito." This is not his actual name, naturally. It was a made-up name. "Evil Levante, they say you should give a dawning gift when you have a special friend." Or, "Evil Levante, they tell you should give a dawning gift when you have a special friend," he boomed, trying to whisper. Who is they?" I laughed. He ignored me. "I bought my friend this bow. It is a good gift?" "It all depends on your friend. What do they like? What are they like? Can you describe them?" "She likes to fight. She's regal. She is very..." The Titan paused. "Is a recurved bow more romantic than a compound bow?" He managed to whisper this time. "Ah," I nodded knowingly. I wouldn't know the difference between those weapons, but I understood his problem. "But maybe a book would be better?" he asked. "Again, it depends which book you choose." "I read Ikora's On Circles, revised edition, and it was very good." "That is a terrible dawning gift. Might I suggest literature?" Torito tapped the horn on his helmet to reflect. "I did destroy a book of hers once. Should I replace it?" "Maybe you should not remind her of a bad thing happening." He didn't reply to this, so I went on. "Perhaps this bow is already the right dawning gift for your friend. Do you think she would use it?" "Definitely." "Well then," I smiled, "you have your answer. Happy dawning to you and your friend both." "And to you, Eva. I hope your dawning is one to remember." And then the Titan thanked me, hefted the bow, and strode off. Vanilla blades, mix cabal oil and sharp flavor, add essence of dawning, then bake. I know for a fact this is the PvP dude, Lord Shax. He's a Titan, and he's very interesting. No such thing as coincidence. Dawning delights. I always seem to get a customer with many questions right as things get busiest, in the late afternoon. Tonight, it was a woman. A beautiful, sturdy guardian with dark, cropped hair and a diagonal stripe of white across each eye. Very striking. She had a satchel slung over one shoulder and a stack of books and packages cradled in one arm. By this, I guess she was a paying customer. She also had a cheeky curl to her lip and a hand on her hip, and she tapped her fingers as she waited. By this, I guess she was a hunter. "Happy dawning, miss," I greeted her. She launched right in. "Can you help me put together a really small, intimate dawning celebration? Do you have, like, a kit or something?" she asked, peering back over her shoulder with impatience. "It's a surprise for somebody who's used to the dawning in the city, only now they're all the way over on Mars, so..." "Ah! Well, the dawning basics are decoration, shared food, and gifts. First, you have a choice of lanterns." I pointed to the colorful spheres lining the shop. "And candles." I produced a box of tea candles from under the counter and thumped it down in front of her. "And streamers." "Candles and streamers are a fire hazard. I'll take candles and lanterns." "Silver and yellow lanterns go well together." She squinted up at my display. "Purple." "I'll give you purple, green, and silver. That's a pretty combination." The dawning is about wonder and beauty, so don't just buy one lantern. I stacked the accordioned uh, lanterns on top of the candles. She opened her mouth and then shut it again. I pulled out my biggest assortment of dawning treats and placed it on the counter. Sharing and generosity are the heart of the dawning. This collection is one you want. Here I paused. If you want to impress someone you love. She pursed her lips and pushed the beriband package of sweets next to the candles and lanterns. Smiling, I pulled over a rack of my finer garments. Finally, the dawning gift. The most important... Oh, I've already got a good dawning gift. She put her belongings on the counter to point out the necklace box on the top. I also happened to scan the spines of the thick books, some with very long titles, all labeled Fuan Library, reference, do not remove. The hunter noticed my frown and shoved the books into her satchel. Here's what I picked. Think she'll like it? I didn't know who she was, but I admired the necklace she was showing off, an elongated pendant with an emblem of a little bird, of exquisite workmanship. She grinned. That design is golden age, but the pendant also holds 35 petabytes of data. I returned her smile. I also convinced her to buy a sturdy book bag and purple wrapping paper. There, your own personal dawning in a bag, I said, tucking away her glimmer and handing over her purchase. I hope your companion enjoys the surprise. The hunter bobbed her head in thanks and turned to go. Anastasia! Who did I see but Commander Zavala, standing arms akimbo in the corridor as the press of the afternoon shopping crowd flowed around him. Zavala? No, Zavala, muttered the hunter. She pushed her shoulders back and thrust out her chin. She looked fierce as a falcon. Happy dawning, Anna. I'm surprised to see you in the tower. Yeah, well, I had errands. But I missed what else they said because someone ran up with a package asking, Hey, did you hear that woman was headed back to Mars? This one's going there too. I ran my eyes down the package. Candles, lanterns, candy assortment, wrapping paper, cloak. Ordered by a Cameron Dumuzi. I got a funny feeling it was such a coincidence. I think this is meant to be a surprise. Alright. I think this was meant to be a surprise. The package can wait for tomorrow's deliveries, I replied. When I looked back, Zavala and the hunter were deep in conversation, the Titan Vanguard wearing a half smile, and the woman smirking. By this, I guess the dawning spirit was uniting old friends. And with that, I turned to my next customer. Javelin Mooncake. Mix chitin powder and sharp flavor. Add essence of dawning, then bake. The only thing you missed was a lesbian love story. Fine. No such thing as coincidence. Dawning delights. I always seem to get a customer with many questions right as things get busiest in the late afternoon. Today, it was a woman. A beautiful, sturdy guardian, with dark, cropped hair and a diagonal stripe of white across each eye. Very striking. She had a satchel slung over one shoulder, and a stack of books and packages cradled in one arm. By this, I guess she was a paying customer. She also had a cheeky curl to her lip and a hand on her hip, and she tapped her fingers as she waited. By this, I guess she was a hunter. Happy dawning, miss, I greeted her. She launched right in. Can you help me put together a really small, intimate dawning celebration? Do you have, like, a kit or something? She asked, peering over her shoulder with impatience. It's a surprise for somebody who's used to the dawning in the city, only now they're all the way over on Mars, so... Ah, Well, the dawning basics are decorations, shared food, and gifts. First, you have a choice of lanterns. I pointed to the colorful spheres lining the shop. And candles. I produced a box of tea candles from under the counter and thumped it down in front of her. And streamers. Candles and streamers are a fire hazard. I'll take the candles and lanterns. Silver and yellow lanterns go well together. She squinted up at my display. Purple. I'll give you purple, green, and silver. That's a pretty combination. The dawning is about wonder and beauty, so you don't buy just one lantern. I stacked the accordioned lanterns on top of the candles. She opened her mouth and then shut it again. I pulled out my biggest assortment of dawning treats and placed it on the counter. Sharing and generosity are the heart of the dawning. This collection is the one you want. Here I paused. If you want to impress someone you love. She pursed her lips and pushed the beribboned package of sweets next to the candles and lanterns. Smiling, I pulled over a rack of my finer garments. Finally, the dawning gift. The most important... Oh, I've already got a good dawning gift. She put her belongings on the counter to point out the necklace box on top. I also happened to scan the spines of the thick books, some with very long titles, all labeled Fuan Library. The reference, do not remove. The hunter noticed my frown and shoved the books into her satchel. Here's what I picked. Think she'll like it? I didn't know who she was, but I admired the necklace she was showing off, an elongated pendant with an emblem of a little bird, exquisite workmanship. She grinned. That design is golden age, but the pendant also holds 35 petabytes of data. I returned her smile. I also convinced her to buy a sturdy book bag and purple wrapping paper. There, your own personal dawning in a bag, I said, tucking away the glimmer and handing over her purchases. I hope your companion enjoys the surprise. The hunter bobbed her head in thanks and turned to go. Anastasia! Who did I see then but Commander Zavala, standing arms akimbo in the corridor as the press of the afternoon shopping crowd flowed around him. Zavala, muttered the hunter. She pushed her shoulders back and thrust out her chin. She looked fierce as a falcon. Happy dawning, Anna. I'm surprised to see you in the tower. Yeah, well, I had errands. But I missed what else they said, because someone ran up with a package, asking, Hey, did I hear that woman was heading back to Mars? This one's going there, too. I ran my eyes down the packaging list. Candles, lanterns, candy assortment, wrapping paper, cloak. Ordered by Cameron Dumuzi. I got a funny feeling. It was such a coincidence. I think this one is meant to be a surprise. The package can wait for tomorrow's deliveries, I replied. When I looked back, Zavala and the hunter were deep in conversation. The Titan Vanguard wearing a half smile, and the woman smirking. By this, I guess that the dawning spirit was uniting old friends. And with that, I turned to my next customer. Javelin mooncakes. Mix chitin powder and sharp flavor, add essence of dawning, then bake. It's not like spelled out for you, but this is obviously a lesbian love story. A friendly face, dawning delights. Have you ever met someone who immediately rubbed you the wrong way? They can appear very friendly, Dustin, but it's always a particular type of friendly. The different varieties can be hard to recognize when you're young, but with time you'll see them all. The rarest form is genuine kindness, though there is also fair weather, friendly, I want something friendly, and look how friendly I am, friendly. The last one is always hiding something, and they hope their performance covers it up. The last group is also where we find the man who calls himself the Drifter. I do not like to speak ill of others, but him I do not trust. I don't really know what he does out beyond that gate, and I'm not sure I want to know. I've spoken to him only a couple of times. He always seems like he's in a rush. The one conversation we've had beyond our introduction was very short, and he slinked away before I could get any answers. It was right before the start of the Dawning Festival. I was getting my decoration set up, and he walked up to my booth and said, "Well, what's all this?" "Surely you know the Dawning," I said, not in a rude way, but in a friendly way. "I know you're a snake." Friendly. "Oh, of course," he said. "I guess I'd forgotten it was getting to be that type of season. Time just goes right on by, don't it, sister? Right on by." He looked up at the decorations for a long time, hands on his hips, and nodding approvingly. "It certainly can," I said. "Actually, I wanted to ask, he said, I don't know that I've been anywhere that's actually celebrated the dawning. Why don't you tell me a thing or two? I may not be centuries old, my friend, but I am no naive child either. Old Eva knows a lie when she hears one." I spent a bit of time telling him about our festival anyway, explaining our traditions and the meanings behind them. He nodded along, seemingly very attentive. I tried to bring the conversation back to him. "So, Drifter, where are you?" "Well, best be on my way," he said, pretending not to hear me as he backed up. "I've taken enough of your time. Who knows how much any of us have left?" As he walked away, he tossed back, "Like the decor, good colors," then disappeared around a corner. I've heard other people talk about this strange man. They mostly say the same things. Very friendly, if a little mysterious. On the other hand, I've also heard some things I won't repeat. They're far too gruesome to be true, and I won't facilitate spreading false rumors. I'm sure his eating habits are no different from yours or mine. Suffice to say, something is off about him. I recommend keeping an eye on him. Dark chocolate motes. Mix taken butter and null taste, add essence of dawning, then bake. A Tale Twice Told. Dawning Delights. What I have loved most since coming back to the tower is reconnecting with everyone. I missed my friends while I was away, and I thought about them every day. Even when you're doing what you know is right, it can be hard not to wish for times past. I wanted so much to catch up on everything I missed, but these guardians are so busy, always flitting in and out. You can barely get a word out of them most of the time. I feel like so much has happened, but I only get drips of information. Spider is his name I hear over and over. But who is he? A common criminal? A deity? A friend? Some accounts paint him as all three. What is it about the spider fellow that compels these guardians so? And do I have it right that he feeds on ghosts? Ghosts! What an utterly despicable practice. Even the most detestable ghost doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Yes, I am thinking of one in particular, but I'm afraid old Eva will keep that secret to herself. From what I can put together, the spider fellow had a group of barons. I think. If that's correct, his relationship with them seemed tenuous. I don't know what one gets up to on this tangled shore, but I think he had them all killed. Before that, though, Spider's barons broke into some kind of high-security prison out in space. They were looking for something belonging to Spider. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was ghosts or maybe it was weapons. Although, why you'd have someone look for those things in a prison, I don't know. While his barons were there, the prisoners started to fight. That rascal Cade 6 was also in the prison, on a mission that I don't think was related to Spider's mission. They ended up in the same fight, though from what it sounds like. Then, while everyone was fighting, the Reef Queen's brother arrived. When I first heard this story, at this point I thought to myself, "Oh, good! Finally someone on our side. The Awoken Prince will help get things in order." Now, keep in mind that I had always heard he was a bit stiff. but also that he was willing to help when it came down to it. That was before his sister, though. Loss can do terrible, ugly things to us. This leads me to the one detail I know with absolute certainty. Uldren Sov killed Cade 6. I don't know why, but I suspect it was in part because the prince succumbed to the pain in his heart and lost his ability to see things as they are. Anyway, once Spider's Barons left the prison, they ran all over the reef. I guess they had found what Spider was looking for, but decided to keep those things for themselves. The Spiders sent people after the Barons, and I don't think any of the Barons survived. With all this, while all this was going on, someone killed Uldren. I assumed it was revenge for Cade, but I can't get anyone to tell me with certainty who did it. Based on everything else I hear about this spider, I wonder if Uldren wasn't also his work. Many of my Guardian friends are still doing favors for this creature who, at best, betrays his own people. I'm not sure that road leads anywhere good, though perhaps I don't have the whole truth. There is no history lesson. Take it however you will. Some people just don't have time to talk to old Eva, it seems. Candy Dead Ghosts. Mix dark ether cane and flash of inspiration, add essence of dawning, then bake. What makes us one? Dawning Delights. What are the Awoken? Not in the sense of how did they come to be. I don't care about that anymore. Any more than how the Cabal or the Fallen came to be. As far as I'm concerned, the universe decided it wanted them, and so it made them. Who am I to question the universe? I've heard people talk about Petrovenge and the Tangled Shore lately. It's very confusing. Rope together rocks, and you just jump between them? It's no wonder that Reefborn Awoken are so often suspicious of others if they grew up unable to even trust the ground. But the Awoken as a whole, I feel like my grasp of them has certainly grown, but there are things I still don't understand. There are certainly parts of what we consider humanity, just as much as humans or exos. I know this and believe it, but what makes it so? Is it because they are made like we are? The Cabal are built roughly as we are, but we do not consider them part of humanity. Is it our shared relationship with the Traveler? As hard as it is to believe, I have heard the Fallen had a relationship with the Traveler, but they are not part of humanity. Does humanity consider only those who choose to walk among humans? But by that logic, Reefborn Awoken who remain in the reef are not part of humanity. I don't believe that's true, and yet Petra has spent most of her life in the reef, hasn't she? I know she was here playing emissary for a while, but she has always considered the reef her true home. Would she describe herself as part of humanity? I think if you walked up to Petra and asked, "Are you a member of humanity?" she would respond, "I'm an Awoken of the reef." If you pressed her further and asked, "Yes, but which side are you on?" I believe she would say, "The side of Queen Mara Sov." So then, is humanity something we choose, or is it ascribed to you? Is it a title to be earned or a birthright, a heritage? Are the Awoken part of humanity due to one of these stipulations, or could it be that the Awoken are part of humanity because all of these stipulations? Individually, these ideas don't define humanity any more than a cloak defines a hunter, but collectively, they are built as we are, and they share our relationship with the Traveler, and that many of them gladly walk among us here on Earth. Maybe that is what makes them part of humanity. Everything bound together, just as we are all bound together. That togetherness is what helped us win the Red War, and I truly believe it will help us push back the darkness for good. Never forget that our unity is what makes us strong, and the Awoken will always be part of that. Ill Fortune Cookies. Mix dark ether cane and impossible heat, add essence of dawning, then bake. And finally, you get used to him, Dawning Delights. There's a strange fellow who... well, perhaps you've seen him. He doesn't really come and go as you or I might traditionally think. It's more that you turn around and he is either there or he is not. His appearances are steady and predictable, at least. He's called Zur. I'm not sure why one draws the tiny arrow over his name, but it's important to try and respect the wishes of those who we don't understand. The first time I ever saw Zur, it was by myself, at my stall in the tower. The old tower, I suppose you'd call it now. I hadn't been there long at all. I looked up, and this man had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. His back was to me, but even from behind, something seemed off about him. Something in his posture. As he started to turn, I noticed his whole face appeared to be covered in hair. It even seemed to be moving, gently flowing on its own, but there's no wind. When the light hit his face, I screamed and ducked down behind my cabinets. I was sure this abomination had come to invade us, that more of them were just out of sight, that we were done for. Eventually I realized that no one else was screaming. I heard no sounds of distress. I peeked out and saw that everyone was going about their business. No one was panicking but me. Many people saw him. Several were interacting with him. Slowly, I stood back up and tried to go about my business, though I rarely looked away. Tess came over before too long, and I asked her about the strange figure. "Oh, that's Zur," she said, unconcerned. "He comes through every so often and sells particular hard-to-find things." She considered him for a moment, then added, "Could do with a bit of a wardrobe update, if you ask me, but he's otherwise harmless." "What is he?" I asked. "I've never seen a creature like that before. Zur is... I believe he's called a Jovian. They're from out beyond even the reef. I'm afraid I don't know much else about them. But they're... friendly? Well, they don't attack us, if that's what you mean. I don't know that I'd call Zur friendly, but he's not hostile." I felt more at ease after our conversation, though I still could not shake my fear. For many months I jumped every time I saw him, and had to fight back the instinct to hide. Eventually, I grew used to his presence. I even began to appreciate his predictability. It became a symbol that everything was functioning as it should. The fear evaporated with time. I have found often that my first reaction to new things is fear. Perhaps it is this way for everyone. However, I have also found that if I accept and acknowledge my fear, it is easier to push through until I am no longer afraid. The new thing has almost never been as frightening as I first feared. Strange cookies. Mix taken butter and electric flavor, add essence of dawning, then bake. That concludes the Dawning Delights. Ugh. Oof. Ugh. Okay. If you don't mind, I might actually do some stuff with my Guardian before I start reading The Lawless Frontier. I need to give my voice a rest. Where the hell is Zer? How the fuck do you miss Mr. Tentacle Face? Where the fuck is Zer? How the fuck do you miss someone with tentacle face? Okay, I'm looking this shit up. You still with me? He's there in the ETZ. Alright. Testing, 1, 2, you still with me? Do not leave me alone. God damn it. Pretty sure that's where he normally chills out. Ooh, dust light. Mine. I have apparently missed Zer. Testing, 1, 2. Are you still with me? We need to test for a pulse. Right now I'm just messing around to let my voice recover. After that I'll be reading The Lawless Lands, which is like, I want to say 10 lore cards or something like that. So you haven't really missed much. I'm just running around doing some random stuff. Might play some Gambit. Excuse me. Oh, what I got this time? Harbinger's Echo. Out of space. Ada, Ada, Ada. How you been? Are your feet clipping into the floor? Progress.
Yes.
Alright, let's see what we got here. Forge ignition. Daily bounties. That was easy enough. Again, easy enough. And resources. Auto rifle frame. What? Why not?
I'll be here.
So I got the frame, but what is this? I know what you are. Precision kills. Easy enough. Huh. Don't need you. I think I'll do Tugger Spite. I can just run to Old Drifter.
Hey kid, looking good.
Why, thank you.
Careful with that. Don't waste this. Careful with that. Hurry back. Gambit's waiting.
Mm-hmm. And so is the postmaster. Because apparently they're useless and can't expand their inventory, even though we have ghosts that are capable of hacking into alien technology to let us through doors. Even though, you know, we have that, we can't expand our storage.
Hi there.
What's clogging up your inventory? Lots of stuff. No. 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 Nine. Niet. None. And, I'll take that.
Acknowledged.
What you got for me?
Welcome, Guardian.
Oh, right. Still not getting what I want.
Another satisfied customer.
Oh, this. Look at this. uh...
Thanks for shopping Eververse, Guardian.
What can I do for you, Titan?
Yeah, basically.
Bigger the better, right? Every little bit helps. Trust me.
Let's see. What was I doing? Right. I need to turn in the materials to you anyway, so what you got? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, misfit. Alright.
Heard you put
Vanguard. Use.
Don't stop fighting.
Alright. I am off to Gambit. Honestly, original Gambit, one of my more favorite game modes. It crosses PvE with PvP. In a very interesting way, you kill enemies to collect these mote thingies, you deposit them in a bank, and if you do that, if you deposit enough, you send a blocker over to the enemy's bank that locks it, and they have to kill the blocker in order to unlock their bank to deposit their motes, and vice versa when they send blockers your way. And when you collect enough, you can actually invade them and kill the other players yourself. The end goal is to summon your primeval, which is this big giant enemy that if you kill it before the other enemy, you win that round. There's 2 rounds if you win both rounds, 3 rounds if you both win a round. And the third round, it used to be, it'd just be another third round, but they revamped it to where in the third round, it's just no holds barred. You gun to kill that enemy. If you don't, you lose. I can tell that there's sarcasm in there. Don't worry, I know this game isn't for everyone. I just wanted to share something I enjoyed. Really? I didn't think he'd ever be interested in the game. Or did me sitting down and reading the lore cards help with that? That's good. I'm hoping to read more of it after I do some character stuff, so I can read some of the darker things. The one I haven't intended tells you the backstory of some of the bosses you fight during this expansion, Forsaken, and how they came to be. And lets you know what they went through. Alright, Mavericks.
Ready to
We will see
what
what we're
you're
competing
fighting
today. Cabal on the field.
It's time to bang knuckles. Red Legion and Loyalists are the only cabal left in the system. Hunt 'em anyway. Get ready to drop. Let's hunt some hostiles, brother. Bring them moves. Hostiles incoming at the base.
My hammer. Where's my hammer gone? My hammer. No.
Incoming wave at the drill.
Soundtrack is honestly good, yeah.
Take and run popping up on the enemy side. Good.
Man. God damn. Thank you.
Watch your back. Invader incoming. Hostiles inbound at the stick.
Well, I'm hopping through the portal. Oh. That's the invasion I was talking about.
Invader's gone. Get him next time.
Is no one taking care of the blockers? Nope, 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 nope.
You're being invaded. Find them before they find you. Portal's ready. Go say hello.
Gladly.
Embrace the darkness. Take out those guardians. That's one. Your ally neutralized the invader. Two for one. 10 seconds left. Welcome back.
Trying to shotgun me. I see that they finally got rid of the blockers. Feckin' morons. I'll take that hammer.
Hostiles incoming at the base.
Oh.
Portal's up. Go take them out.
Skirt.
Your enemy called up a primeval. They kill it. They win. You're invading. Make a mess. One down.
Ow.
Reload. Try again.
Yep, that's the one.
Bang. You'll summon a primeval. You want to win? That's how.
I never was the best at invading.
Portal is primed. Make a mess. Seconds and I pull you back. That's one. That's two. Bringing you back. Good hunt. Not out of this yet. Kill that primeval. Envoy's in the dirt. Now kill the big guy. Raider inbound. Portal's up. Go look.
Really? Well, I can see how this ran. Yep, there it is. God damn it. Ow! That's my ankle.
Your team sucks. Do better. Opposing team looks strong. Transmat Prime. Back to it, quick draw. You're in for a tougher fight. Hostiles inbound at the steps.
See how you like it.
Small block to the other side.
Small blocker to the other side.
Hostiles incoming at the base. Portal's ready. Grab your gun. Your allies invading.
Get out.
Coming back. Vader inbound. Hunt. Invader down. You're clear. Hostiles inbound at the steps.
Ow.
Vader incoming. Opposing team's got a primeval. Once it dies, they win. Portal's ready. Grab your gun. Embrace the darkness. Take out those guardians. Your ally neutralized the invaders. One down. Seconds. They got you. I'm bringing you back.
Alright. And melting in 3, 2, 1.
Mortals Prime. Go make a million. This is what the taken do. Revel in this. They got you.
Ow!
Bringing you back. You're close. Fill the bank, you get a prime evil. It's not over. Kill that prime evil. Your allies invaded. Portals up.
And yeah.
Prime evil compromised. Burn it down. You had to move faster. Get him next time.
Get off of my screen. I'm thinking Germany City. Too bad there aren't any, wait, there is an adventure. Ugh. Dear. Skirt. Oh.
Can you put eyes on them?
Can I put eyes on them? Go. Off my screen. I'm right here next to the objective. Nope. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? Ah. I'm outnumbered. Yeah. I'm doing a freaking event, but I don't have anyone to help me. Be gone. Let go. Yeah. I'm not gonna finish this. Ow. It's like no one in this area of the Dreaming City. It completes, but it doesn't give you the full reward. You're supposed to get, like, gear and stuff from it. Hello, Petra.
Once more unto the breach.
Eye patch, remind anyone of anyone?
Reef maid. It'll serve you well. I thought you might like that one.
I'll give you a hint. She's a fish. Yes. Give me the treasure.
How do
Howdy.
you do it, cousin? How do you find the will to come out here again and again? We both know exactly what's going to happen, and yet, here you are.
You
Oh, I
have to
know.
believe that change is possible.
Yeah, for context, this city is trapped in an eternal time loop of 3 weeks, each one getting worse. And this woman right here, this one I'm looking at, dies in the first week of every single cycle, and this has happened about 10 times or more. No one knows how to break the cycle. All we know is we kill the wizard person at the end of it, and the cycle repeats again. But if we don't kill the wizard, it just repeats anyway. Oh, hello.
Thanks. I don't know how I'd get through this if you weren't around.
I mean, you really don't, so... Thank you for the shinies. Oh, there you are. Thank you. I missed another one. Where are you? There you are. Poof. There we go. Damn. Oh, changing my weapon. Thorn, last word, or aces. I'm gonna go Thorn. Bye-bye. This gun is broken as hell in PvE. Because it has a poison effect, but it doesn't seem to differentiate between weaker enemies' health bars and boss level health bars. So you wind up chewing through a good level of a boss's health bar by poisoning it. There you go, funeral pyre. Or funeral pyre. Ta-da! And... Damn it. No. Bye-bye.
Nice one. Transmitting relics now.
Oh, there we go. Reverie Dawn Gauntlets. Hmm. Oh, the chest's there again. Gimme! I hear collectibles. Oh, there it is. Gimme. Thank you. Now, what did it want me to explore? Bay of Drowned Wishes. So I'm on the right track. Are you enjoying your Destiny experience yet? Or are you getting tired of me just pointing at stuff and using my Rudy Tooty point and shooty? collectibles. Be gone. Aha, I knew you were there. Yeah. How about thee? Yar. Oh, that's the thing. And now, there is but one or two things left to do. Turn in this, frame thing, and then make it. You know, sometimes I wish I actually had a fully functioning channel. But I guess I'll settle for what I have. Yeah, that'll totally happen. Oh, what an interesting idea. But, that would require me being able to actually record. Because at this point, everything I'm doing is being streamed directly to YouTube. There's absolutely no, rendering or anything that needs to be done.
Peruse what we have to offer.
Okay. Now you're starting to sound like me. And... God, what was the rest of my train of thought going to be? Brain fart? I don't know. I mean, to even record proper content, I would need my own place. And a room to do said recording in. No. I am absolutely not moving in with you. Yes, and on that day I'll have a mansion with 101 rooms and a dozen maids at my beck and call. Well, the original plan was, Caitlin, myself, Brandon, and anyone else that wanted a roommate, if they could chip in, would all band together and get our own place. But that requires a bit of saving and everything, and recent events have kind of drained my funds. Okay. Not even gonna broach that subject in the myriad of bad ideas. Oh shit. I keep my ends met out of necessity. We try to. Sometimes it doesn't end that well. Ow. Piss off. Ow, ow, ow. The ringing nail. Is that the, hand cannon? It is. Beautiful. That... Not bad. Oh! Ooh, dragonfly and kill clip? Ooh. Yes. Be better with Rampage and, frickin' Rampage and Dragonfly, but I'll work with it. Good oof. Kill clip, you reload after a kill, and it causes your bullets to do more damage for a short amount of time. And Dragonfly, if you land precision hits, which you can tell you did by, or if you land precision kills, which you can tell by the yellow numbers instead of the white ones, then it triggers an explosion that damages the enemies around the that are encompassed by the explosion. I'll show you after I collect something from the Drifter, because I'm heading back into Gambit to use this bad boy. And swap over to Sentinel. Oh, that felt good. I guess you could call it that. Ugh. And, also, well, impact isn't as good, but range is better. Let's see, what else can I do with you? Huh. Collections. Flare. Okay, where is it? I know it's around here somewhere. Maybe activitize. No. No. There it is. Grab a couple of these. Because when you're killing enemies in a PvP/PvE optional area, you have to look your best. And I'm sorry, green and bronzish gold doesn't fit this weapon. This, however... Handling, alright.
Call me Drifter.
I'll grab that.
Be safe out there, brother.
And now... Yeah. Why not? I'll drop by to see her again. Maybe she has the same frame for sale again.
See anything you like?
You, but...
See you next
Do you
time.
specify what type of weapon I need to make? Just weapon frames. It doesn't specify what type.
Come see what we are selling today, Guardian.
That might be why I forgot to turn these in. Okay. Now we'll cook with the peanut oil.
Armory do for you today?
Give me that auto rifle frame.
See you next time, perhaps.
Alright. Now we're ready for Gambit. I'm hoping I can get a ringing nail with those same rolls for perks, but with an impact upgrade thing. Because if I can get a ringing nail with high impact, ooh, no one will be able to stand against me. Because normally, the harder something hits, the slower it shoots. But if you can get an auto rifle, which is full automatic, with high impact, you're hitting people with what is basically scout rifle / shotgun shells at a high rate of fire. Speaking of the impact on this thing. Upgrade handling, alright, range is good.
Enough fooling around. Scorn approaching.
Scorn, not my favorite, but I can deal with it.
Never trust a scorn. Their little balls of instinct. Shoot first, talk to it later. You ready for transplant? Give me those motes and I'll make you rich, brother. I promise. Hostiles inbound at the steps.
Oi. Oi. Be gone.
Incoming wing at the drill. Hostiles incoming at the base. Medium blocker outbound.
Medium block it to the other side.
Watch your back. Invader incoming.
Where's this guy gonna come from?
Invaders off the field.
Jesus. What's that about?
Hostiles inbound at the steps. Portal's ready. Grab your gun. This is what the taking will be. Revel in this.
God damn it.
Bringing you back. Good hunt. Incoming wave at the drill. You're being invaded. Find them before they find you. What did they ever do to you? Just kidding. Invader's gone. Get him next time. Almost time for a primeval. Fill that bank up. Hostiles inbound at the steps.
In we go.
Hard soccer en route to the enemy. Feels good to be a bad guy, right? Portal's ready. Go say hello. That's one. Two for one. Reload. Try again. I'm bringing you back.
I got 2.
Raiders here. Brace yourself.
So yeah, so far, weapon is great against enemy guardians.
Convoys hate. Now devour that primeval. Invader down. You're clear. Invader incoming.
I see him.
Portal's up. Go look him in the eyes. Invader's gone. Get him next time. You're invading. Make a mess. One down. Ten seconds left.
No.
Bringing you back. Good hunt.
Thorn, huh?
Portal is prime. Lock it.
I mean, yeah.
Primeval down. Good work. Portal's ready. Grab your gun.
They tried invading again. It's not gonna work, buddy.
Opposing team, I need more moats. Your team's robbing them blind. Hold on to your ghosts. Back to action. Kill something big and bank those moats. Hostiles incoming at the base. Incoming wave at the drill. Hostiles inbound in the deck.
Whew. That almost got me.
Invader inbound. Hunt.
Nope.
Invaders off the field.
They're gonna make me do it. Bah. Be gone.
Hostiles incoming at the base. Invaders here. Brace yourself.
Nope, 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 nope.
Invader down. You can relax now.
Come on, peeps.
Portals up.
Vase is mine.
Embrace the darkness. Take out those guardians. That's one. Ten seconds.
10 seconds. More than enough time.
Bringing you back. Good hunt. That's two.
No.
Allies invading.
That was mine.
Hey, your team has enough to pull a prime evil. You're close. Bank and summon that prime evil. Prime evil here. Kill it and win this. Hostiles incoming at the base. You're being invaded. Find them before they find you. Envoy's dead. Kill the prime evil. Portal's ready. Still safe. Invader down. You're clean. Teams behind.
Oh, they have a primeval? Oh, I'm feeling evil.
Embrace the darkness. Take out those guardians. One. Come back.
Evil senses must have gone dull.
Portal is primed. Lock it. Invaders out. You'll get them next time. You're invading. Make a mess. Guardian down. 10 seconds and I pull you back. They got you. I'm bringing you back. You're being invaded. Find them before they find you.
Kill it, kill it. Kill it quick.
Portal's prime. Go make a mess. Yes, sir. That's what I call hunting. Portal's ready. Grab your gun.
Well, that went well.
That's quite the haul, thank you very much. Old Drifter's gonna put these moats to good use. Trust.
Well, that's where I'll have to call the end to the stream. So, bye-bye.